For the 23-24 season, the 1878 FM podcast is sponsored by Green King Sport, where football is more than a game. It's a massive fortnight of sport where the Premier League, rugby and cricket all taking centre stage. To celebrate, Green King has given listeners of this podcast 20% off drinks until the 29th of October, an hour before, during and after the sport. All you need to do is download the Green King Sport app. If you've not downloaded the app before, you even get a free pint. So head over to the App Store, download the Green King Sport app and get your 20% off your round. Don't miss a minute of the action. Hello, welcome to the 1878 FM podcast. It is episode 11. Myself, Ped, and David Vitti here to have fun. But first, talk about the Merseyside Derby defeat, which wasn't fun. But Dave, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. You?
Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah.
It's not, the weather's not great today up here. What's it like where you are?
It is cloudy today, and but it's not wet at the moment.
Okay.
Actually, the weather's been all right the last couple of days, hasn't it?
What am I listening to
No, it's
here?
been raining. This is weather.com.
What am I listening
You know what
to?
this is called?
I don't know
Avoiding the first subject.
This is like two middle-aged men when they meet at a bus stop. They don't know each other.
That's what we talk
Come on,
about.
there's nothing wrong with talking
Peter.
about that, Peter. What do you want to talk about?
I think you should
The Merseyside Derby.
widen your scope.
My scope is
Fully wide.
It's fully wide.
I've
fully
checked.
wide.
Just before we start, Baz, can I just jump in for a minute?
Yeah.
Have you been on the hair dye?
No, you know what? I've just looked in the mirror when I went in, right, and was like, looking, thinking, my hair looks incredibly dark.
Dave, come on, mate. You can see
It does.
What
Well,
has been going on
I'm
there?
telling you now, I haven't done anything. There's just from ends out, but it hasn't been out for weeks and weeks. I've just looked. You know, when it gets too long, I know it's too long because when I have to get up.
So the secret of you not having grey hair is having longer hair.
It seems to be.
So why don't you go like full shoulder length?
Me and Andy were talking about Horncastle, James Horncastle.
Oh, yeah.
You might have seen him last night, and I couldn't believe he's got the full like Homer Simpson.
Maybe you should go for get Carl to sort you out.
No.
Come on, Homer.
See, I have to be careful with this conversation because I am often accused of dyeing my hair, which I understand and I appreciate that at the age now of 37, nearly 38, that people would think that it might be time for me to stop laughing, Ped. It might be time for me to be showing some grey hairs, but as so far I'm pretty dark. But I promise you that there's nothing. Actually, I've got a couple of grey one there, which I think is sort of
grey one there.
I've got it in my beard, but I'm not. But I think this is a larger conversation, right? Because we were talking about Thingo this week, weren't we? What's his name? Christopher. I love me nan.
Maloney. Christopher Maloney. Songs from me nan.
He'd gone to Turkey to get his teeth fixed because a British dentist ruined them, which is normally the other way around. But fair play to him. But I'm not bothered. If you've put stuff in your ear, then fair play to you. Like, I want my teeth done. Like, I've got no issue with it. I'd love if I had the money, I'd get them done. People getting their hair sorted all the time, good or bad, but I don't have a problem with it. You know, if you want to dye your hair, or you want to have your teeth done, if you want to have a bit of work on your cheeks.
I will be getting, there's a thing called Simpler, which is a hair, you put it in, it's like, and it also allegedly takes your hair back, but it essentially will be a dye, but it's a herbal thing. I'll be having no issue using it. I still haven't got it yet.
For Florida, was that?
No, but before I've got no issue. It makes me laugh when this subject does make me laugh when people go to the gym. Well, why are you going to the gym, or do you do this? Why are you doing that? Or
I mean, to be fair, that is natural.
No, but what I'm saying is they're doing it they're doing it for a reason, aren't they? Why are you getting your teeth done?
Where do you stand on this, Dave?
Why are you getting your teeth done? So
what in terms of self-improvement?
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely fine. I think each to their own. If you want to do self-improvement, then that's entirely up to you. I mean, but I'd just like to take this opportunity quickly now before we get into proceedings to say that, Ped, I think your hair looks lovely today.
Thank you. I've done nothing with it. It's
but I mean, it look like you're fairly freshly cut.
No, it's a few weeks. It's just I go to a good barber and he cuts it in a way that just falls into place.
This is a fella in Skem, isn't it?
In Skem,
The roundabout.
Skem in the roundabout city, but and one of those roundabouts he just built a big Aldi on, so they're obviously moving
really?
forward. Yeah,
There you
go.
That's where I go.
That'll be the roundabout in Sken to the
No,
Aldi.
no. I don't go to that Aldi.
You
I
go
go
to Aldi to get your hair cut.
No. I don't do that either.
How good? Hang on, did you hear me then? How good is Aldi? How good is Aldi down where you?
Listen, as you both well know,
Yes.
and it's been well documented, Gillian.
Yeah,
Gillian.
The love
Scottish Gillian. Scottish Gillian.
Glaswegian Gillian cuts my hair,
Yeah.
not Aldi. But I do go to an Aldi, not the one in Skem, but I go to the one nearer me, which is where I get all of my weekly shopping because it's tremendous value.
But you work in that industry, Dave. You've worked in that industry for
Aldi.
No, he's been in the industry now for like 30 years. So essentially since he was 4.
Yeah.
Started off as a small model.
33 in fairness.
But you must have seen a few people with a little bit of work done. Have you ever got envious and thought, the day I need it, the day that comes that I need that work,
whenever that might be,
you've got, first of all, you've got to reach a milestone of being like 35 first.
Sure.
Have you ever thought, you know what? They look good, they look bad, I wouldn't want to do that? Or are you prepared to just keep it au naturel yourself, or are you going to dive in there, in the shallow end?
Well, I've sort of done a little bit of both, actually, because I'm currently, and I don't mind admitting this, I'm currently 2/3 of the way through some Invisalign treatment on my teeth. They are kind of like getting a little bit straighter. But I have those Invisalign tray things, which I put in, which are very clever, because a mate of mine is a dentist around the corner. Thank you for his mate's rates. And so I'm currently, they should be done by about February time, I think, something like that. So
how do they feel in your mouth? Because I've heard different things about them.
I've actually found them to be really easy, and I haven't found them to be problematic, even though people said that they can be. They're a little bit, when you put in new because do you know how they work, right? We're going on a big tangent here, but it doesn't really matter because again, this is Derby avoidance essentially.
Of course.
So what they do is that they work out what the movement needs to be in terms of your teeth from here to there, and then it's a series of different trays, right? And all of those trays, which are a bit like a gum shield, right? And all the gum shields are slightly different shape. So you put that one in and then it moves your teeth that way, and then you put the next one in and it moves them a little bit more that way, and so on and so forth. And ultimately that's what creates some movement over a period of time, which for me is 17 trays, 34 weeks.
Bloody hell. Interesting. And how much of the day do you have to wear them?
You should wear them for 22 hours of the day, so you just literally take them out to eat.
Wow.
But yeah, no, it's all good. I've had them since, I don't know, February, March, something like that. And
fair play.
March, maybe.
There you go. I didn't think we were going to end up there, did you, Baz?
Interesting.
No, but I mean, listen, I'm an honest and open person if we're talking about self-improvement and whatever. And, I'm happy to share. I think it's good for men to share stuff more.
I do. And also, they're natural, aren't they? They're not, you're not having your teeth fixed as such. You're fixing your own teeth. That's all it is, isn't it?
Yeah, just with a little bit of help from some clever technology.
And also, again, I'm slightly surprised of a man of your age being in the mid-30s would need that kind of thing done. But it's you're never too young or too old for that kind of thing either. Because that's something I've thought about. Yeah. I need to go and see a dentist to see
I'm hoping that by the time I reach the milestone of 40 next April, that they will be significant.
Hang on, I thought you're 37. Well, you jumped up 3 years just 39. In April.
Sorry, 39.
39.
I am.
Okay, yeah.
The big four, big one next year.
The big one next year, yeah.
Big one.
Fair play to you.
Any idea whether Hello or OK will be in touch for the rights to said celebrity party with, I imagine, the likes of Dean Gaffney and other massive
good.
Gaffney.
Hey, listen, Gaffers hasn't responded yet.
He's not. Well, he's a busy man, but he will get back to you.
Do you think if he goes to dues, he takes well hard with him?
He should do, shouldn't he? He should do. But no, I'm actually, in all truth, I haven't actually put out the formal invite list yet.
I thought that because
that's obviously why you haven't got yours.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that
does Gaffney use natural products to get well, lad?
Well,
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? That's what you have to ask yourself if we're talking about self-improvement.
I think it was a natural process, as all these things should be, because when you are adopting any kind of canine, you have to go through the proper, the proper process. That's the only way you can get well. They have to do it properly.
They have to vet whether you can cope with a Wellard.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's it. That's exactly it.
Whether you have the right environment in order to house.
You need space.
Sure.
Essentially.
You need
some need more space than others.
Yeah, if you've got... Have you got the space at home to deal with Wellard?
To accommodate Wellard?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
There you go.
I think so. I mean, as you get older, things get more restrictive. But so far,
it's a tale as old as time. The Merseyside Derby, the 243rd Merseyside Derby. I'll be honest, it ended result-wise. Yeah. It ended how I imagined it probably would. However, Dave, for a large period, Everton had nullified Liverpool, really. Yeah. And I believe, and Ped believes, that the game kind of swung a little bit on a poor decision from the referee.
Are we the only people who believe that? Do you think there's other people out there who might believe that?
I think there's a lot of...
That's why we're waiting for Dave.
And we want Dave to be a verification.
Millions of people that would support the view that perhaps there was a particular incident which may have indeed swung the game. And bizarrely and quite heartwarmingly, many of those millions of people go beyond the realms of our club.
Yeah, yes.
It's not just Evertonians that believe that perhaps that was a decision which some may say was handled wrongly by the referee. Certainly not by myself or indeed this podcast as a whole. But there are certain people who bring his decision making into question. But yeah, in all seriousness, we said last week that our main thing with the derby coming up was the fact that we weren't expecting to win at their place. We know that. We are realistic, much as we are always with hope. But we wanted to see a performance, and we wanted to see our team compete. And in that respect, I think they did. I mean, we said that we wanted Liverpool to know that they've been in a game, and as you say, I thought we battled for large periods of it. We nullified them, and so in that respect, I'm not unduly unhappy in terms of what happened in the end. I'm annoyed about the decision because I think that perhaps it could have been slightly different. But I think we battled well. And again, going back to what we said last week, it was all about putting down a platform, if you like, in terms of a performance, so that it would then be something that we could build upon for the weeks to come. Obviously West Ham on Sunday, we've got Brighton after that, we've got Palace after that, before we get United at the end of November. And so, these are games which for sure there are points in. So yeah, in that respect, I think they did for the most part what we wanted them to do, and so in that respect, I'm not particularly despondent.
Yeah, I mean, Pep, we stayed in the game, and it's difficult to look back now because obviously you look back at it, and I've seen some Liverpool fans criticising us, or you didn't do this, or you didn't really cause us any problems, and you say, well, okay, that's fine, but A, you weren't causing us any problems either. And B, for 60-odd minutes of the match, we played with 10 men. So it was always going to be difficult for us with 11 men, but with 10 men.
Yeah, that's just not how football works, though, is it? It's not about what the final outcome is in terms of what's happened in the game. It's what could have happened in the game, and it's the same with when they didn't get the decision against Spurs. I know you see that as a clerical error more. Yeah, that's a clerical error. Yeah. Liverpool not getting the goal was just a clerical error against Spurs. That's all it was. It wasn't bad officiating, was it? No. It was just a clerical error. It was
miscommunication.
Someone forgot to tick a box, and that's all it was.
These things happen.
Yeah. They do happen. But this was just a terrible decision, and who knows which way the game would have gone. We've had games ourselves where we've been destroyed at Anfield, and it only takes a second, and and you get a penalty, or you get something, a deflection or whatever, or something off a corner. You can, just because the final result looked comfortable, as you said, till I suppose just after the incident where they should have had a player sent off. Yes, of course, they had all the ball. Yes, of course, they were flashing it left, right, and centre. But Jordan Pickford was not having to make saves.
No.
And that's the key indicator, isn't it? That is always going to be the key indicator.
Yeah.
He was not having to make saves. We weren't going to go there and outplay them. You know, we all knew that they were going to have 60, 70% of the ball because they're a much better team. And the simple fact is, in football now, the way it is, that it's very, very rare that teams lower down the division go away to teams in the top 4, top 5 and beat them. It does happen, of course it happens, but you need everything to go your way. Yeah. And if if the referee takes something off you, then it's never going to happen because that's just football now. The margins have gone. Yeah. You can't go around booting people. You don't get the lucky breaks because VAR stops it. And so you need to have those moments in a game, and we had that moment taken away from us, and that's the way it is. You know, we've had it for years.
I think, Dave, the most frustrating thing is not. Listen, referees can make mistakes, of course they can, and sometimes you go, "Oh, how's he not seen that?" or whatever. But I think the issue I had with it was he set the tone by booking Young, and then he sent him off by sticking letter of the law, and. You know, there's an argument to say, should he have gone over and warned them and said, the next one, mate, you're off?
Yeah.
Or, but he chose to send them off, fine. But he had the exact same thing with
scenario.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
And you know, if Liverpool wouldn't have had that, you could argue all day and go, he should have gave Young a warning, whatever. But there's no real defence. He's 2 bookable offences off. But Konate done 2 bookable offences and should have been off. And that's the sickening thing for me, is that he had the chance. It's not level it up, because it's not really about levelling up. It's about doing the right thing. And he for me.
Well, you know, when you think about the referee in this instance, it's the C word that we are all, you know, at the end of our tongues. And consistency is obviously the word that we're thinking of.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That was my first thought when you said it, yeah.
Because, no, as you rightly say, is that there are different ways of interpreting the laws depending upon the game and the atmosphere and the tone and all those different things. And as you said, you know, he decided that he was going to take that approach, which is fine, because actually he was backed up by the laws in terms of his sending off of Ashley Young, because it was a second bookable on Diaz.
Yeah.
But then, I think once you display that line, and that's the route that you're going to take, you have to be consistent and you have to do it again. And especially when you have a situation where you have the exact same decision to make with another player.
Yeah.
You have to take the same line. And he was at that crossroads, and for whatever reason, he decided not to. Which, as I say, you know, listen, we are obviously biased and partisan, but I think when the entire world looks at that and football fans of all clubs go, well, it's just not right. Why does one go and why does the other one not?
Yeah.
And that's just, you know, it's poor refereeing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, to put it mildly.
To put it mildly. I mean, I think the thing I don't think any of us will argue about it was a penalty, wasn't it? I've seen other people trying to talk it away. Oh, he was looking the other way, and it should be deliberate and all that. I thought it was a penalty.
It's a penalty. I mean, I think just it was the positioning of his.
Yeah.
It was the positioning of his arm.
Yeah.
Just looked. I don't think it was intentional as such. But I just think the positioning of his arm was far enough away from his body that he gave the officials little option.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was a penalty. It was going into the danger zone. He's got his arm out by his side, you know, like right out. Yeah. It was a penalty, and obviously once Salah knocked that in, it was game over. The second almost become irrelevant because Everton were going forward. But yeah, you're right. It was a performance that I think every player, for me, give everything they had. Whether you judge whether they had a good game or not. I don't think James Garner had a particularly good game, or Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But both of them put the effort in. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like we had any passengers, because I don't think we did. And therefore, if we carry that kind of commitment on in our games, going again back to what we said last week, didn't we? Which was that level of performance. If we carry that commitment on, I think we'll be okay. What do you think?
I'd agree with you, and I think we are overall in a better position than we were a few weeks ago, and that ultimately is the only thing that's really important.
Yeah.
You know, are we making progress? Yes. Is it slow? Yes, but it's progress nonetheless. You know, they're not going to be easy, but there's got to be points in West Ham, Brighton, and Palace.
And Manchester United for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You know, assuming that they maintain that level of performance and commitment, which is often the difference, I think.
Yeah.
It's the graft, isn't it? You know, and the graft has been better of late, but they've just got to continue.
Yeah.
I asked for a couple of questions on our 1878 group, and there's a couple of Everton ones, and normally I don't do Everton ones because we like the questions to be non-football, so we can have a laugh, and I'll keep one to the bot. There's one out of 3 so far that aren't football, but I just want to get your take on this, because this is something that me and Ped have been discussing the last couple of days. I just wonder if you feel the same and if you see as much of it as we do. But Stu Murphy says, I'm sick of our beloved Everton being a punchbag. And this is in relation, Dave, to all of these hit pieces that are out on Everton at the moment. Listen, we'll criticise
with regards to the points deduction,
and
press are going mad
the press are going all over that, and there's the potential takeover 777 and whatever side of it you're on. We had a situation yesterday where even Jamie Carragher come out and was like, why do I keep seeing all of these stories about 12 points for Everton for this, but there's like none for Man City? So why is it always Everton that is in the new? You know, are you getting a little bit fed up with all of these stories that are essentially sensationalist stories?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is definitely an agenda at the moment. And as you say, every time I read that, I can't help but think that, well, if we are in that kind of eye line and that kind of examination, then surely we are several steps back in the queue from Manchester City. And, you know, there are those who have suggested that more wealthy clubs, such as Manchester City, are able to exert their influence in whatever way to avoid such punishment. Now, we know that our finances are such that if we do get done, you know, we will have very little in terms of being able to claw our way out of it. But I don't know. I mean, the concern for me, I think, is the fact that, and I suppose it's the whole no smoke without fire scenario, is that the fact that so many press outlets are carrying that story at the moment concerns me as to the source and also therefore the credibility of these rumors. You know, if this was the odd rag that had gone out on a limb and had decided to publish it, then you could say, oh, well, do you know what? It's just hearsay. But the fact that so many big publications are carrying it does concern me slightly. But again, I don't understand why other clubs, such as the aforementioned Manchester City, and there are others, why they're also not being dealt with and mentioned in the same breath. But we'll see. You know, there's little we can do about it.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it must be said that in those stories, it does say that it's just one of a possible line of punishment. And what's the sexiest clickable headline? It's the 12 points deduction, isn't it?
No, but they have gone to town with it, haven't they? And we saw that Wednesday. They're running with it, and if it's come from somewhere, don't know where it is. Who knows? But that's the maximum punishment they're going for. But that's the narrative now. The narrative is that they're going after us, and if it's not 12, well, the narrative's out there now, and I've seen it on my Twitter feed. I've seen tweets to me, I've seen messages to us as a channel saying, well, you're getting what you deserve and all this. And it's like, how do you... No one knows what we're actually being punished for. No one actually knows what the issue is. No one knows whether it's a huge thing or a little thing. No one knows what the breach is because it hasn't been made public, which is a bit strange. Premier League can't demand anything. All they are is the prosecutor, and they can say, this is what we want. But it comes down to the evidence, and it comes down to the independent commission itself. And it's worrying that they are trying to put influence on this, and journalists are pushing it. And as I said, that's the narrative now. And Everton just don't have any friends. They don't have any friends in the media at all. They don't have anyone they can rely on to help them. I mean, obviously, lots gets spoken about client journalism and this kind of thing, but Everton just don't have any friends out there at the moment. So, and because they've alienated the fan base so much, they don't even have the fan base to back them up at times. A lot of our fan base will go, well, should have run the club properly or whatever. But I think for now, I think what has to happen is, with the fan base and certainly the football club, they've got to create a siege mentality. The football club have got to create this now and say, we've all got to stand together, at least as a football club, because how do you get a fair trial? This wouldn't stand if it was a normal court of law. This thing wouldn't be allowed. This thing would be seen as influence a jury or whatever. And I know it's not a jury, but I think Everton, that's what they have to look to do now, because he's certainly not got any friends in the media. That's clear as day. Everyone wants to see a big story. And as you mentioned, Dave, the fascinating thing is you've got Manchester City out there, and it all has gone very quiet about Manchester City. No one people are making jokes about it. People are like bringing it into conversations towards the end and things like that. But no one's really asking the tough questions. You know, no one's actually saying it. Yes, Jamie Carragher's mentioned it on a tweet, but he's not saying it on Sky. He's not saying it in front of... He's saying it in front of a captive audience. He's saying it in front of Liverpool fans who are obviously going to eat it all up, and a few other people. But where are the people talking about this in the mainstream media? Where are people saying, hang on, where have the Manchester City charges gone? And you're absolutely right, Dave. The simple fact is Manchester City will have the best lawyers in the world, and they will keep these people running around in red tape for years. And Everton just can't do that. And Everton could get a fate much worse than what Manchester City do, simply because of the circumstances of where we are right now. You know, if Everton were to get 12 points or 9 points or even 6 points, then I would be very, very, very worried about our future and what comes from that, because the Commission would have to ask themselves, are the charges really worth Everton potentially going into administration? So that's another 9 points. The future of a lot of staff at the club. And I know a lot of people will say, well, you deserve it because you've done this or you've done that. But do we deserve... Does a 12-point punishment really... does that really sound like something that should be handed out to any football club? Where's the sport integrity in that? What could you have honestly done to deserve losing 12? I mean, we haven't even got 12 points to give them.
No.
That's what's worse.
No. We haven't got money to give them. The thing about it is, like you said, we don't really know. There's a story out there that says it's relating to something to do with the stadium. It's something to do with a tax regarding the stadium or something.
We don't know if that's true.
And I don't know whether that's true, and I don't know how you would say, well, that money there is for the stadium, not for that player over there. I get that. But the reality of it all is that it's a rule made up to protect the fans and the football club from going out of business. Yeah,
it could send us out of business.
It could send us out of business. And you'd only got 9 points for administration, for Christ's sake.
My understanding of it was, rightly or wrongly, I thought this was to do with the recorded losses during the period that took in COVID to have gone beyond what the allowable parameters were. Or am I wrong?
But there's no actual proof. No, but you might be right, but there's no actual proof.
That's people of the
That's what I thought. That's what I thought that they were in court defending, was the fact that they were accused of going beyond the allowable parameters in terms of profit and loss during that period of time. Well, some of which Everton had claimed to be part of COVID, but they were vigorously arguing the fact that they hadn't done anything wrong and they'd acted within the rules of the game.
Well, that might be it, but I'll be honest, the only recorded explanation of what we're up against is, I think one of the nationals said that it was due to a tax complication to do with the stadium, and that's the only recorded evidence or I say evidence. No, that's the only recorded thing out there to say what we're being done for, because it's not being put forward. They've just said an FFP breach, and it might be that. But the point being is, we were supposed to, in that period, the Premier League was supposed to be holding our hand, keeping an eye on everything. And maybe that's what the have took us to. Maybe they've been pushed into by all these other clubs who said we're lying. And we have to go and defend ourselves and say why those whether those COVID losses are real or not. But I still don't think that's deserving of 12 points. I really don't.
And for me, the other thing that should be taken into consideration here, and listen, people might listen and go, well, you're only saying that if it was this club or this club, you might be saying different. But the thing I think should be taken into consideration is we're building a stadium. We're creating jobs. We're making it, if you're talking about the inclusivity for fans, we're making a stadium, putting us in a new stadium that's better for supporters, better for the Premier League, blah, 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 blah. So therefore, those costs, in my opinion, should be separate to playing costs and stuff like that. So I just find the whole thing nonsense, for the simple reason that it's not even a general rule. It's a rule that they've decided to bring in based on Portsmouth nearly going out of business. And therefore, you've got I personally don't even see how it can be legal, this rule. But you've got a position where an owner wants to put money into the football club to make the football club stronger, and you won't allow it as a league because it goes against this. But what you will allow is for 14 teams to make sure they vote to give the other 6 clubs more money than anybody else. A league which TV companies decide who's on TV every week and get an extra £1 million a game or more than that. So the disparity is allowed to grow in that. And yet you might have an owner who goes, well, I will put my own money into it. And they say, well, you can't. I just find it utterly bizarre. And then you're now going to go, right, you've got a 12-point penalty. If they said it's a 3-point deduction and a fine of £1 million, then fair, well, it's not fair enough, but you take it and you go, yeah, but 12 points when we'd only get 9 if we'd have gone into administration, and this all would have been wiped off anyway, this debt. So the club would have essentially started 0 again. How can you get more than what administration is? I don't. To me, it sounds. I'll just say now, I don't believe Everton will get 12-point deduction either, because I think we'd have them off. But it is absolutely mad. Yeah, that's how it seems anyway.
Well, that was going to be my closing question. Is just to say to both of you, actually, on that front, because obviously we've had this conversation umpteen times before. We had this conversation last season, and you were both very positive in terms of the fact that you didn't feel that a points deduction was likely. Are you still as positive?
I'm worried, Dave, because I feel like by putting this out, it feels different. It feels like they are pushing for the maximum penalty, and I find that quite dangerous that that's out there. Beforehand, I was watching the press thing on Sky Sports News last night, and the journalists they had were like hinting that last week the talk was all going to be about a suspended points deduction, which I think is fine. If you break the rules, fair, you get a slap on the wrist, and you're told not to do it again. And what we find is, certainly in the FL, is that gets handed out, and a lot of these people can't help themselves and re-offend, so they always get them. And I think that would be just to get a suspended sentence if it's proved guilty. But there's just something about this getting out, and as you said before, it being in a lot of different papers and a lot of people running with it, almost like it's already happened and we've already been found guilty. And I find that very, very strange, considering it is an independent commission. And I know
they're influencing it, though, aren't they?
Well, this is it. And how can it be? How can it be a completely independent commission when the national press are allowed to print this narrative,
Yeah.
which is obviously affecting our own viewpoint, because that's what we're talking about right now, but in turn will also be affecting the viewpoint of anybody who is part of that commission and part of that jury.
And also, Dave, I think we've had quite a lot of this, but I think it will affect the morale of the fan base. And I mean, let's be honest, right? The timing of it is horrendous.
That's disgusting.
Of course.
The 24 hours after the club announced the death of Bill Kenwright, and you're putting stories like, surely this could have kept for a few days at least.
Yeah.
You know, the club are in a period of mourning. I just find that, you know, regardless of anyone's feelings, that to me is really low and really poor from them as well. So, and it just feels like, they're going after us. And listen, they might be right to go after us. I mean, we're not stupid. We've sat here for the last 2 years complaining about our own football club. We know its own shortcomings, but this just feels like they really are going after us, and they want to. And that's also, it's the political side of it that worries me as well, Dave. It's the political side of, they don't want someone on the outside running football, so they're going to prove they can do it themselves. And it's great if they punish us, then everyone will go, oh, what are they going to do to City? The City thing might never ever materialise.
No, because as you say, because you know they've got far greater resources than us to actually keep it at bay.
And I don't feel like I'm being paranoid here, by the way, by going, oh, everyone's after us. I know what we've done wrong. I know the way the club has been last few years. We've all been very critical of it. Of course we have. But this just feels like every day, of course, there's a hit piece out about us in the papers. Some of them are real, some of them are absolutely nonsense. But it's all the time just throwing more fuel on the fire about the stadium, about the run of the club, about who owns the club, about 777. And this just feels like the papers are just, certain journalists are just almost willing it to become real. And the I told you so mentality of what we have now in the world of like, I'd rather be proved right than it be ethical or whatever. So I hope the club come fighting. Hope they come out fighting and all the fans go with them, because I think it's time now to put all that other stuff aside as a fan base and say, right, we have to actually be together on this. We have to actually back our football club and create a siege mentality of it's us against the world, because that's what we've seen other people do. And hopefully, if the worst comes to the worst, we take them to appeal and we wrap them up in red tape for as long as it takes as well.
Yeah, no, it's absolute nonsense, and you're right. Let's make sure we all stick together on it.
God, I was happy you're talking about the derby, wasn't it?
I know, God.
I know. At least that's one game.
Yeah, Darmad, I hope we've kind of discussed there, Darmad, Ryan. I hope we've kind of discussed your question there. You just mentioned Bill Kenwright there, but just to lighten it, obviously it's been a very sad week this week with the passing of the chairman. But seeing a story today that, you know, John Travolta has paid tribute to his dear friend Bill Kenwright, which is, incredible. I mean, you're seeing how big he, just very briefly, Dave, he was obviously massive in away from Everton. We know about Everton and people that have different opinions on him. He was obviously massive away from Everton, wasn't he, in the theatre world, and seeing all these tributes from the actors and everything. It's mad, isn't it, of just how big he was, because we've probably skated over that fact, haven't we, because we're looking at it through football lens.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. You know, and I've seen a lot of the heartfelt tributes from within football, from outside of football, and as you say, it's probably been fairly equally weighted in terms of, you know, that balance of tributes, you know, that have come in from all corners. And yeah, listen, I'd just like to say it's been a sad week, and regardless of recent history and some of the turbulence surrounding the club and the fans, the truth of the matter is that Bill Kenwright was dyed-in-the-wool Evertonian. He loved the club. He'd do anything for the club. He'd displayed that over many, many years. He'd put a huge amount into it in terms of both passion and also finance and everything in between. Yeah, I just like to say thank you for all of his efforts over the years, and my thoughts go to his wife Jenny and to the whole family.
Absolutely. On a lighter note from that, then, because that might be a friendship that is unlikely, John Travolta and Bill Kenwright. Do you have any friendships? This is from Andrew McGregor. Do you have any friendships that we wouldn't expect? So you could say, well,
me personally, or us. Do I have any friendships that you wouldn't
that we mightn't have heard of? I mean, you and 50 Cent or something, you ever hang out?
Yeah.
You know, that one was a strange one, but you know,
it was a strange one. I don't think so, because I think that any of my slightly whatever the word is, I think everybody knows those. You know, I'm good friends with Dion Dublin. But
the Doob. Do you ever play the Doob together?
I haven't played the Doob for a long, long time.
No.
In fact, I think it might be in my mum's loft.
Okay.
But
which is actually perfect because Dion can go up and inspect
inspect it. Yeah.
Well, he can inspect, you know, the stairs that lead to the loft space.
Of course, absolutely.
Which is his want. But no, I don't think I. Sadly, I mean, I wish I did.
Yeah.
You're a man of the people, Dave. I feel like
that's it. I'm a fairly ordinary sort of bloke.
I mean, I feel like you've had opportunities to be friends with top stars, but you know that's not the world you live in. You live in a world of Aldi's and Gillian.
The hairdresser.
You know what I mean?
Glasweeds and Gillian might be a friendship people weren't expecting. That's what you have to remember.
This is very true. You know, I mean, she's a big deal in our small community. So yeah, why not give her the celebrity status that she perhaps deserves?
Is she the only barber in your community?
No, weirdly, actually, there's actually. I think she's one of 4
Barber wars
in a small, in a small village high street. Yeah, I mean, there was, without wanting to, sort of dig up any kind of raw feeling, there was a new Turkish barber shop that opened up next door, but one to Gillian.
Oh my word!
Right? Yeah, you had mentioned that.
I mean, listen, as you know, there was Gillian's place, and then there was the card shop in between, and then the card shop went right, and that's now a nail bar. Right, but anyway,
that's modern science for you.
Well, we did talk about
it's going to be a nail bar or a vape shop. It's going to be one of the two.
Yeah, you've already got a Turkish barber, so
absolutely. So we got the Turkish barbers there, but anyway, everyone has their place.
Let me ask you a question then.
Settle down, yeah.
Did any of these barbers ever undercut the other ones?
I mean, when you say I see what you did there.
Yeah,
very good. I don't know. I mean, in terms of I don't know.
You're on fire today, when
I mean, not literally, but
not literally. No, luckily.
Well, your ears, when you do your ears,
I've never had that before.
No, I
haven't either.
No, I'm not.
But if anyone wanted to, that's fine. We did talk about enhancements. Well, listen, there's lots of let's finish with the Stuart Thompson question.
Go on.
If you were an alcoholic drink, which one describes you?
I'm glad you said drink.
Drink. Which one describes you best? He's put light beer for Baz. Yeah, why not a light beer for me? Why not? Although I do like an IPA, it'd be one. But I do like
liking and being are not the same things.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a non-alcoholic drink. That's all I drink.
Yeah, I will be a light beer. There you go. Refreshing, but not gonna be too bad.
Not much of a.
I think you're
not much of a head on you. Go on, Dave.
What were you gonna say?
Well, I don't really know. I mean, because this feels very much like an old blind date question. There's one for showing your age. But they used to ask questions like this, didn't they?
Yeah.
Blind date, and they were always pre-scripted
and
set up.
Of course,
if you were to be a food, what sort of food would you be? And
my name is Michael, and I came from
2.
Bristol.
Yeah.
And my question to the panel is, if you were a lasagna.
So I can't off the top of my head think of anything which is well written that would describe my personality in the form of an alcoholic drink, which is ultimately where this question is leading to.
Yeah.
So I'd probably just say that I would be a pint of Guinness.
I was literally gonna say
a pint of Guinness.
A pint of Guinness, smooth,
and have a good head. And I'm all, ready for the winter. I have a good head of hair. Sorry, a good head of hair. I mean,
I was going to say Guinness because you look at it at first and you've got to let it settle.
Sure.
It looks like shite, but once you get stuck into it, you'll probably never have another drink in your entire life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It almost feels like you've thought about that
I
before.
was just on the spot. I'm just a quick thinker. That's all. That's all it is.
This is why you're creative director. Of
It
Toffee
is
TV.
absolute. You know what? You know what? You're not wrong.
I'm a cup of tea.
Weak and full of and not full of milk.
Yeah. I mean, I do understand tea isn't an alcoholic drink,
could be.
but it could
Not
be.
unless you stick rum in it.
I was gonna
say,
not being funny.
Claude Greengrass
We grew up
alcohol and
we
tea.
grew up going out in the 90s. Everything was an alcoholic drink in the 90s. They just brought out a different flavoured thing every week.
Remember Hooch?
Hooch was amazing.
Remember Diamond White? Wasn't that a
I never
thing?
got involved in Diamond.
No, but that was a thing.
Diamond White was it made girls fall over in the 90s.
It was too close to Diamond Lights by Waddle and Hoddle.
Well, a classic song.
Hard by that.
A classic song. Go on, swing your hips on top of the pops with suit jackets pulled up mid-arm.
Yeah. Very much Steve Parish took that on.
Very Steve Parish. He keeps it alive today, Steve Parish, doesn't he? He keeps the dream of Hoddle and Waddle's Diamond Lights alive today. So
people won't know what we're talking about.
No,
it's incredible.
Go and check it out if you've not seen Glenn Hoddle and Chris Waddle singing Diamond Lights, cold as ice to
Remember when
me.
football is brought, like Ian Wright done it, didn't he? He brought a song out. That was terrible.
And Gaz's Fog on the time.
Oh, Nana's bringing one out though, isn't he?
With a Wobie. Oh, Nana and a Wobie. Yeah.
Think of anything worse.
They were, what was he, chatting bars the other week?
Chatting bars,
yeah. Him and the Wobie.
Wambars more.
Wambars, yeah. Well, Wamba good, to be fair.
No, Wambars.
Yeah, but Wambars were probably all right. They were all right, Wambars.
Remember Wambars, they get stuck in your teeth.
But they get stuck in your teeth.
And that's probably why Dave needs his gum shield, and we've gone full circle.
It's probably why. Yeah,
Beautiful.
We finished now, but we were looking for dentistry. We'll finish on dentistry. You know, NHS dentists. No one wants them anymore.
They just don't want to be NHS.
No, they don't want to be NHS. So I went last week through one and all that, and it's great. And I think I've had 4 fillings in my life, but I've had 18 months not at the dentist because my previous dentist broke me tooth, give me a fill, and that was unnecessary.
So you stopped going because you were scared?
Not scared. I was just fuming with them because I'd had no issue. Anyway, I've gone to dentist, and now I understand why NHS dentists were great, given the price to get.
It's going to take us 5 years to pay it off. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Going to need a third.
We've got it. A dentist has DM'd us and said you can come to his practice in Preston.
It's in Preston.
It's cheaper than paying 800 quid.
Might come see it in Preston as well. 855 to be precise.
Sorry.
There you go. We'll leave it there. We're just getting our teeth into it. We'll leave it there. Dave, terrible way to finish. Terrible way. It's just got to Ned. It's just got to Ned, though. 31 seconds after it. It's got there.
It's on its way to Skem.
I wonder if there's NHS dentists. No, let's leave it there.
Here it comes.
There's definitely no dentist.
It's on the East Lancs.
It's there. It'll be there in a sec. Oh, Ned. Right. Thank you very much, Dave. Vitty, we will be back next week. Hopefully with a much happier podcast than it was today. But thanks for listening. Make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe, give it a 5-star review, all of that good stuff. And we will see you later.
Share it to the world.
Bye-bye.